listen. This was written after adjusting to the complete silence in the country in Kilnacroft, after getting to Ireland from Wales. There is a silence in this place so pure that animals alone dare it defile. There is serenity of faith that is so sure that man walks with his God and sees him smile. There is an unlost childhood in this land that dares yet to believe what mother said in evenings past, long past, that dares to stand alone upon this globe that grown men tread. There is a wisdom in the unhurried field, that prowess of the head outshone in haste, and there are technic arts that old wives wield, that would to logic's annals cause distaste. Yet there are mighty things in muttered sounds, that in a land of magic have no bounds. So anyway, things hadn't worked out eventually. Strangely enough, I was back in Wales, and a letter came out of the blue from Prynich Abbey. The abbot, old Hermit, heard that things hadn't worked out, and he was obviously quite concerned, and he wanted to see me. So it's rare that an abbot should write out of the blue. So I went to see him immediately, and he said to go back to studies for this coming academic year and to keep in touch, and then we would see. But eventually he sent me to their daughter house, Farnborough, which was a good move, but in those days they had a strange situation there, and eventually they split up in two communities. The two tendencies became quite evident, and but anyway, I was caught in the midst of that, and the novice master wanted to send me up to Prynich, but the novice master of Prynich had just had a nervous breakdown, so the abbot of Prynich had closed the novitiate, and he, for the time being, until he got better, and so he sent me back again to study again I did theology in Bangor, and I would have gone back to Prynich after doing that theology in Bangor, had not my spiritual father sent me to Ireland. He thought it would be a good idea to have something which would be close enough to Wales and not enclosed. I think that was his point. That the monastic life, in my case, it would be better if it were not completely separated from the Welsh milieu. He spoke Welsh and he knew what he was talking about, so he thought the Kilnacroft would be a good solution of a certain openness and the possibility of actually being in contact also with Wales. So anyway, and they had adoration, Eucharistic adoration at Kilnacroft, which is kind of interesting. So anyway, I went in there. And then I was professed eventually and sent immediately to Rome to do more studies. And there I was quite happy in Rome. But then when I was out in Rome, we had this business of the Brendan Smith affair. It all blew up when I was out in Rome. And so I went to see Cardinal Daly when he was there in the Irish College one day, and he knew all about it. He knew far more than I did. He was very well informed. And his advice was to stay out there in Rome as long as possible, out of the explosion. And so anyway, I was ordained eventually in Italy, and I stayed out in Italy, but that had not been my intention when I went out to Rome. I was ordained and I was useful to them near Rome there in the monastery of Sant'Antimo. I was able to be novice master and guest master there for them when I finished my studies, because after ordination there at the cathedral in Siena, I was sent back immediately to Rome to finish what had been the optic initially, to do the whole doctorate. I'd stopped after the license, so the doctorate was done, and then when I came back to the monastery permanently in Italy, I was able to be useful to them with the studies done, to give lectures then to the others. So that's what happened. And then when I was taken off being novice master eventually, I thought maybe it would be possible to come back to Ireland, because otherwise they were taking on lots of new parish areas, and I wasn't too happy about that. At least a big sector of parish work was coming in, which I wasn't too happy about. It was dominating the scene, and that wasn't my desire. At least either or, one can be in a parish but not also handle the monastic life as well. If you want to be in a parish, do as the other Norbertines do, live in the parish as satellites of the monastery, whereas they wanted to combine both, and that's heavy going. If you have to travel dangerous roads and get back in time for Vespers every day, it's difficult, it's dangerous out in the country, always rushing against the clock, so it's a very heavy life. The other monasteries handle it in a different way. But anyway, I wasn't happy about that situation, and I asked the Bishop of Meath if he would take me back there as a hermit, and he did, so that's how I ended up back in Ireland. So anyway, that was Providence. And in the meantime, unfortunately, the monastery hasn't done terribly well. They're in quite serious difficulty right now. I'm not quite sure what the future is going to be. They're becoming too oriented towards things active, and it's weakened the monastic life considerably there in the community. So I'm not quite sure what's going to happen in the long run. They were supposed to go into the Pre-Modernisation order like the other houses this last year, but it didn't happen. I think it was felt that it wasn't ready. Because when they were going into the order, that's when I was able to be professed as a hermit in the hands of the bishop, because the house was being dissolved as a house under the Archbishop of Siena and erected immediately as a house of the Norbertine order under the Abbot General, and that would have freed me, it was freeing me from being under them, you see. But anyway, basically it didn't happen for them, but it happened for me, so it came at the right time. The bishop took me in at the right time, so that's why I'm able now to be not threatened with being called back to the monastery to fill a gap there. I belong here back to Ireland. Priesthood. To be all thine, my God, to be all thine, and to stand where the feet of thine have stood, since Christendom, with ancient wording fine, first set apart the race that hath withstood the turnings of a world, to hold the hand that holds the all of all. 'Twould be the blessed and hallowed holding of empowered command that ne'er an angel held at his behest. 'Twould be, my Lord, a little thing for thee to whisper for a whisper, for herein, within a little nod, rocks all to be or not to be, set loose by one sound's din. Yet I know that were I given a word, a melody of mercy could be heard. Lead kindly light. When knowledge there is not of what shall be, and certainty evades the peering eye, when morrows hang unclad, and all we see is trouble in a very troubled sky, then there is but a song, a little plaint, that bore a heart's full weight at this same spot, before but oft a pain. Nay, 2 hearts faint, once cast upon this strain their common lot. O Master of the pen, hold out thy hand, and lead this lost stray child, lead me on, to where thy 2 great feet were led to stand, upon that will wherein alone light shone. For I know not the way, and can but take a little step, lest I some huge plunge make. Bless our Father, Father of all men, look at this time, look again to thy children, whom in adopting thy Lord thou hast followed, whom thou hast gathered to be thine own brethren, called by thy name, on thy name we are calling, thy charge we ask, see the perils befalling. This house that shields neath the strength of thy wisdom, this child that seldom finds help in his falling. We are thy portion, we are thine own pardon. Walk thou ahead, place our feet where hast trodden. Thine unerheard and unnoticed come guiding, thy of hiding where secrets lie hidden. For thou art unknown and wast thus in thy living. None but one we saw in thy giving. And 'tis the obscure way that we two would